What if I told you the secret to one of the most luxurious skin-loving soaps you will ever make is sitting in your fridge right now? No, seriously, grab a carrot. I'm Perry, and today I will show you my carrot juice soap recipe that people literally beg me to make. This formula uses 40% olive oil, 29% coconut oil, 25% shea butter, and 6% castor oil. But here's the twist. Instead of lye water, we're gonna use carrot juice. By the end of this video, you will have the exact recipe, but you will not only learn how to copy a recipe, but you will also learn how to formulate your own recipe for your own skin needs. You will understand how each ingredient works, how to tweak the ratios to make your own soap recipe, and how to have full control over what touches your skin. Let's go! But first of all, why carrots? It sounds weird, right? Here's what nobody tells you. Carrot juice is packed with beta-carotene, a substance that converts into vitamin A in your skin. But here's the thing, you cannot just dump carrot juice in your soap. Carrot juice contains a lot of sugars. And when sugars are present during the saponification reaction, we tend to have a lot of heat released. In some cases, it can even lead to the phenomenon called soap volcano, where basically your soap literally erupts out of the mold because it overheats so much. But when you do it right, as I'm gonna show you, you get the most moisturizing, creamy, and nourishing soap bars. Apart from that, carrot juice comes with an amazing orange color, which acts as a fantastic natural colorant. Let's talk about the 4 oils that we're gonna use. We're gonna use olive oil, coconut oil, shea butter, and castor oil. These 4 oils together, they work like a boy band. Each of them has a role, and if one is missing, the whole thing breaks down. Starting with olive oil, we are gonna add 40%. But why 40%? 40% is the perfect amount of conditioning and nourishing properties you need for your soap. If you add more olive oil, you might end up getting something that is too conditioning, it might feel a bit greasy, and if you don't cure it properly, it will feel very slimy in the bathroom. Next is 29% coconut oil. Coconut oil is high in lauric acid. It's what gives a lot of bubbles and cleansing power to your soap. 29% I found that works perfectly fine for me. Some people like way more bubbles, they might boost it up to 35. If you have very sensitive skin, you might lower it down to perhaps 15%. If you have too sensitive skin or very dry skin, you might as well just completely remove the coconut oil because it will cleanse, create a lot of bubbles, and might dry out your skin completely. Soaps that are made with 100% coconut oil concentration are suitable to clean the dishes. I also have a recipe for that. Then 25% shea butter. Now this is your secret ingredient. Shea butter is high in stearic acid and palmitic acid, and it's what gives creaminess, hardness, and structure to your soap. It's also one of the ingredients that makes the soap very long-lasting. And finally, we have 6% castor oil. Castor oil is high in ricinoleic acid, and it's what gives thickness to your lather. If you add too much castor oil, you might get something that feels a bit sticky. So 6% is actually a really good point. All of these oil in combination, olive oil will give conditioning, then coconut oil will give a very bubbly lather, then shea butter will give a very creamy lather, and then castor oil will create a very thick lather. All of them work in harmony together to create a very balanced soap recipe. If we look at the soap calc printout here that shows all the details on how, I will show you how to make this in the end of the video, by the way, but if we look at it here, you will see it has scoring for the different properties. So for this recipe, we have a hardness of 41, which is in the perfect range between 29 and 54, so we are very solid on that. Cleansing power is at 19, so right in the middle. Conditioning is at 55, so it's nice and moisturizing without being greasy. Then bubbly lather is at 25 and creamy lather is at 27, which means that they're almost equal, these two. So you're it basically means that you're getting both types of lather, both creamy and also bubbly. The INS value is 152, which is within the DL range of 136 and 165, and that means that this bar will be hard, long-lasting, and balanced. So it's mathematically perfect, this recipe here. Okay, quick pause. If you're brand new to this channel, I've got something for you. I created a free beginner's recipe, a PDF, that contains a starter recipe with these 4 oils, and that recipe will be a good starting point for you, not only to copy a recipe, but to understand how to work with the different ingredients, tweak them, and formulate your own one. If you want it, just comment soap and I'll send it for you for free. So let's talk about carrot juice. And if you've never used juice in a soap before, this can go very wrong, so listen carefully. Because there is a risk of overheating, there are 2 ways that we can do this. One is that we can juice our carrots and then take the juice and put it in the freezer. And basically, we will have something that is frozen, and then we will add the lye on top, so the risk of overheating will be very low. So that's a very safe option. Another thing that we can do is that we can make our juice, put it in the fridge for a while until it gets cold, and then we can add it into a bowl, and then we can add our lye very, very slowly. So we can add some lye first, stir, then add a bit of more lye, stir. And that will also be a safer option. Honestly, if you are a beginner, I would recommend you that you just freeze your juice right away. I've done this a million times before, so I'm just gonna put it in the fridge for some minutes, and then I'm gonna add the lye slowly. Of course, there is one non-negotiable rule. I say this in every video: always add the lye into your water or juice or milk, never the other way around. If you add it the other way around, you will end up having a highly exothermic reaction. Imagine you are adding a bit of water into a lot of lye, so you have something that is very concentrated, a very concentrated solution, so it will start generating a lot of fumes and a lot of heat. Always be in a very well ventilated area, wear protective gear like gloves and glasses if you want, and yeah, let's get down to it. So let's go ahead and turn on our juicer. Let's first measure our water. I'm gonna include the soap calc recipe in the end to show you everything. So I like to use a double-digit scale to be more accurate, and for this one I'm gonna add 259 grams of juice. So you might notice a slight color change when you add the lye. Do not panic, that's totally normal. So it might change from orange to maybe more slightly orange brown-ish. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the lye, and as I said, the juice was actually cold, so I put it in the fridge before using it, and I'm gonna go ahead and add the lye very, very slowly. So first I'm adding a bit, then I'm stirring, and then I'm adding more. Now we've added all of it, so we're gonna take it out and let it cool down. So I took the lye solution outside. It's -5 right now, so it will cool down really fast. And let's talk about our oils and butters. So now we have 2 solid oils, coconut oil and shea butter, and we are basically going to melt this down over a double boiler. So I have here 29% coconut oil and 25% shea butter. As you can see here, shea butter is a bit more solid than coconut oil. So usually coconut oil during the summer, it's actually at, it's almost liquidy, while shea butter will remain at solid form. So let's go ahead and put it over a double boiler. Here our oils are melting over a double boiler. So our coconut oil and shea butter is melted, which means it's time to add the olive oil and castor oil. We're gonna go ahead with 40% olive oil, and then 6% castor oil. That will give a lot of thickness to your lather. Remember, castor oil, a little goes a long way. So that's why we're adding only 6%. If you ever made a mistake in soap making and you feel bad about this mistake, you should know that once I actually accidentally, instead of adding olive oil, I added castor oil. So I ended up adding 40% castor oil, which is completely unnecessary. So I ruined my whole batch, and I've made a lot of mistakes in the past. So now we're gonna take this outside, it's -5, and let it cool down as well. Now. Let me tell you about this part. This is my favorite part here. So now we wait for the oils and butters to lower down in temperature, and also for the lye solution to go down in temperature. I want you to remember this. Always mix your oils and lye solution in low similar temperatures. That's why we want them to cool down. So we will mix them at around 29-30 degrees Celsius, because at the lower temperature you have more control over your soap butter. At higher temperatures, you might end up basically accelerating the saponification reaction, because higher temperature basically makes the reaction happen faster, and you will end up with a soap butter that might solidify really fast before you even pour it into your mold. And trust me, I've been there too many times. So while we wait for this, we're gonna prepare our essential oil solution. And if you've been following me for a while, I love essential oil blends. One of my favorite books, one that I highly recommend, is Essence and Alchemy by Mandy Aftel. She also wrote a second book called Fragrant. And what's really nice about Mandy Aftel is that she actually has recipes, like actual recipes. She tells you you need to add this, this, and this, and this. And also she says the why. Like, why do you need to combine pine essential oil with rosemary essential oil or whatever? So she talks about all the different properties. This is one of my favorite books to read. Let's go ahead, grab a beaker or a glass, whatever you have at home. And we will always start with a base. Now, a base note, as some of you probably already know, is a note of a high molecular weight. So these are the notes that evaporate very slowly. The reason we add them is because they tend basically to make the whole essential oil blend more long-lasting. I like to use around 20% of base. So for this essential oil blend, we will use patchouli essential oil. Patchouli is amazing. It has this, some people call it, it has the memories of the 60s scent. I wasn't born in the 60s, but for some reason it smells like that, which is weird. But I'm gonna go ahead and add 20% of that. And then we are gonna go ahead and add 40% of pine needle. Now, pine needle is very foresty and herbal, and the herbal aspect of pine will connect very well with the herbal aspect of patchouli. And then the rest, we're gonna go with geranium essential oil. Now, geranium essential oil is amazing. It blends very beautifully with patchouli and pine. It's very floral and it's very citrusy at the same time. So we're gonna go ahead and add 40% of that. And as always, you want to mix and you want to test your essential oil blend to see if you're missing something. Yeah, I love it. So it's very balanced. Of course, I've made this recipe before and I know. But as a rule, when you make essential oil blends, remember you need a base note to make it more long-lasting. You can use patchouli essential oil, you can use sandalwood, you can use vetiver. Those are all essential oils that will make your whole blend last longer. Because we've all been there. We've all made an amazing soap that smells fantastic, and literally 4 weeks later, we smell it and it doesn't smell that strong, right? And that's the whole thing with essential oils. An essential oil is basically something that comes from the distillation of a plant material. And usually that contains a lot of different substances. So they tend to degrade very easily. They tend to oxidize very easily, like sweet orange essential oil that contains a lot of limonene. Limonene takes to oxidize very fast to compounds that doesn't smell that much. And that's why a lot of people prefer to use fragrance oils, for example, because fragrance oils, they're more stable compounds. So they're synthetic, they're not natural, and they tend to last much longer. But you have to be careful with fragrance oils, because you should only buy fragrance oils that do not contain phthalates or parabens, because those are hormonal disruptors. What I like to do sometimes is that I like to mix fragrance oils with essential oils, because the fragrance oil will also make the essential oil aspect more long lasting. So that's a good trick that you can also use. So I'm gonna go and check the temperature of our oils and butters and lye. It's -5 outside and it's a bit windy as well, so it was very fast. So it's 29 degrees and the lye solution is at 32 degrees, so they're almost in low similar temperature. We're gonna wait a bit for the lye solution to also cool down to 30. And do not throw away your carrot pulp. Everything that is left from juicing your carrot, we're gonna use a bit of that. You will see in a while why. It will make a beautiful decoration. This is the part that I love the most. Mixing the oils with the lye solution. I'm gonna use a stick blender and I'm gonna pour the lye solution on the stick blender. I just do that to avoid turbulence and trapped air bubbles. I will show you also a trick that you can do with your mold to remove all trapped air afterwards. Guys, let's go ahead. This is the best part. Wow, the color is phenomenal. Now we're gonna start mixing. We are working with geranium essential oil. Geranium essential oil tends to accelerate trace, so we're actually gonna be very fast. We're gonna add our essential oil, mix, and put it into the mold. I'm gonna add the essential oil blend, and then I'm gonna add a bit of carrot puree of the pulp, basically, that is left to create a really nice decoration. I'm adding it and then we're going into the mold. I added it, I'm mixing it. I'm adding a bit of the carrot pulp. And we are ready. We are perfect. Wow, look at this. No trace acceleration, right on time. And look what I'm gonna do now, guys. I'm going to heat the mold. If you actually look closely, there are some trapped air bubbles that are being released. And I'm gonna do like that for it to go everywhere. I'm gonna lightly insulate it now. I'm not gonna insulate it a lot because it might overheat due to the geranium and due to the carrot juice. And then I'll see you in 24 hours. 24 hours have gone by and now we are ready to unmold, cut the soap, and then stamp. So we're gonna talk about how to stamp properly and then how to cure properly. Look at that. I like to use a peeler to take off the edges here. So I'm using this homemade soap cutter, but you can also buy one from your local soap supply. You see how smooth the soap is? You don't get this smooth soap with hot process. You only get this smooth design with cold process soap. The scent of pine, geranium, and a bit of patchouli is fantastic. So you can see the carrot pulp that we added on top. It looks like that. So overall, it's a fantastic soap with an amazing color, smooth design because of the recipe and the right conditions with the temperature and everything we discussed. So now let's talk about stamping. And stamping is very, very important. Of course, if you have your own brand, stamping is important for brand awareness and brand identity. But let me show you about how to stamp properly. I use this stamp. It has this wooden handle and this metal thing here. So what happened in the past, where if I would apply directly the metal stamp onto the soap, I would see some sort of oxidation. So the soap would actually look something like that. So you can see the soap looks like white here, but here where the stamp is, it would get orange. So this is the so-called dreaded orange spots. It's basically when your oils get rancid and they create this aesthetic here. It's not dangerous to use your soap if it looks like that. It's just that aesthetically it doesn't look that nice. So what I did to troubleshoot that problem is that every time I stamp, I use a bit of a plastic membrane between my stamp and my soap. And that has worked perfectly fine. I haven't had any problem with DOS. Now, DOS is also caused from many other reasons. It's caused if you use old oils that go easily rancid. It's caused if you store your soap in a humid and hot place. That could also cause a lot of rancidity. So always use fresh oils, store your soap in a dry and cool place to avoid dreaded orange spots. So let's go ahead and do the stamping. Look at that. You see? Let's talk about curing. So during curing, what happens is that your soap has all this water from the lye water, right? We used water or juice in any sort to dissolve our lye. So during curing, a lot of this water will evaporate. So if you actually take a measure of the weight of your soap at the start, and then you take it every day, you will see for the next 4 to 6 weeks, the weight will become less and less and less. So what happens during curing is that water is evaporated and your soap becomes harder. So when it becomes harder, it also becomes more long lasting. That's why it's very important to cure your soap properly. We want to cure it in a dry and cool place for 4 to 6 weeks. And this is for this recipe. If we were working with a recipe that had very high concentration of olive oil, for example, we would leave it way more. Why is that? Olive oil is very high in oleic acid. Oleic acid chemically is a very long fatty acid chain. So it takes a lot of time to be converted into soap. So if you make a soap with 100% olive oil, you will need 1 year to cure it. I say minimum 6 months, but for the best results, you need a year. So our soap is ready. It looks fantastic. Now we're gonna do 2 things. We're gonna go to soap calc, and I'm gonna show you how to actually use soap calc and how to make the recipe from scratch. And then I'm also gonna show you our photo studio. So I have a very small photo studio. I bought it for 65 euros. It's a photo studio where you can take professional pictures with your iPhone basically. And I use that to take pictures for my website. So we're gonna take some pictures of the soap. Apart from that, thank you so much for watching until now, until the end. Subscribe if you wanna see more of these videos. If you want to learn how to have control over what touches your skin, how to design your own recipes, and how to make many different skincare products from soap to hand creams, to shampoo, conditioner bars without the need of a press, to massage candles, lip balms, I have an ebook that explains all of that. So welcome to the soap calc tutorial. Let's go ahead and go to recipe calculator. And now we're gonna choose sodium hydroxide because we're making solid cold process soap. If we were to make liquid soap, we would choose potassium hydroxide. So potassium hydroxide leads to liquid soap. Then we use grams because I like to use grams, but you can use ounces if you're in the States. In the lye concentration, we have 33% lye. Superfat is 5%. Basically, this is how much oils and butters are extra on your soap that have not reacted with lye. You add this for 2 reasons. One is to make sure that your soap is completely safe and no lye is left. 2, you add it because you want some unreacted oil, raw olive oil, castor oil, shea butter, and coconut oil to exist there because it adds some benefits like moisturizing properties. Fragrance, I actually added 50 grams per kilo. This is on the higher end. You should adjust it to your liking. Maybe it will smell too much for your liking. Maybe 30 grams would be a good place to start. Then let's go ahead and add our oils. So first we're going to go ahead with olive oil, add it here. Then we're going to go ahead with coconut oil, 76 degrees. Then we're going to go ahead with shea butter, our amazing shea butter. I'm using refined shea butter because it doesn't smell that much. It actually doesn't smell at all. And then we're going to use castor oil. So we have 40% olive oil, 29% coconut oil, 25% shea butter, and 6% castor oil. Then I'm clicking calculate recipe, viewer print recipe, and then I have it here. Look at that. So I have all of the recipes, all of the properties that I need to know. So here it will tell me how much water you should add, 283 grams. How much lye you should add in your water, 139 grams. Cool. Then it tells you how much olive oil, how much coconut oil, and so on. And this is a nice way to stress test your recipe. This is a nice way to see, okay, before I make soap, how does my soap potentially would look like? So here you have some scoring. You see for hardness, we're at 41, which is between the 29 and 54 range, which is good. Cleansing, we're at 19, which is also between the optimal range. And that will give you a good indication of how your soap will look like. Here it has the different chemicals, so we know that coconut oil is high in lauric acid and myristic acid. We know that shea butter is high in palmitic and stearic acid. We know that castor oil is high in ricinoleic acid, and we know that olive oil is high in oleic acid and a bit of linoleic acid. So then you also get these values right here. So overall, this tool, I love it so much because not only will it give you the exact amounts that you have to add, but it will also give you a prediction of how your soap. Now this right here is for anyone who is looking to level up their photography. You can make this very small investment and buy this photo box that has basically this very good lighting, very good reflection, this white background. It also comes with a black background. And then you take these pictures and it looks very, very professional. I'm gonna put this later on to see how nice it is. These are some of the things that I'm very grateful for investing in and for buying, because it costs very little money and then you get a very professional result for your website or for any marketing campaign that you might be doing.